What is up? I'm back for another video. So this is Tim from Uniform, and as you probably know, I love to use Nuxt in Vue. And so now that Nuxt 3 is getting more stable and they released their Nuxt Content v2, I felt like, okay, I'm just gonna want to use this, but also try to combine it with where I work at Uniform. And at Uniform, we are able to kind of fetch data sources from different places and let content editors actually edit with these without knowing about these places. But for developers, that could be like, okay, I don't really need that. I'll just code it inside my app. And then later on, I might choose to use some other stuff. So what I thought is like, why not combine both worlds? Why not use Markdown files? Because us developers love to use these, right? And then integrate these Markdown files through GitHub into Uniform. And then I can actually kind of compose my page with some drag and drop stuff that I'll show you in a sec. And with that, I would still edit locally in my code or in GitHub or wherever I want. But I also then have the power of Uniform. So let's go to the browser. So I'll show you how I've integrated this because it's kind of an alternative view on how you can do Nuxt 3 with the content module. All right, so this is my project in Uniform. And here, if you look at the integrations, I have Cloudinary, that's where my images come from. I have my Markdown integration that I made myself just a while back to show you that. And I have a Vercel integration because I can actually now say, okay, look at my website on Vercel. And so Uniform has integrated with this. So when I hit build in a second, you will see that happen on Vercel as well. Same for preview. So let's have a look at that Markdown component here, or that integration. So I've basically just have a repository and owner and the file path that Uniform has to look into. So when you actually look at my press kit website, this is open, by the way. You can just go here and look at the code, see what I've done. And so in the content folder, according to how that should work with Nuxt 3 Content v2, I have a bunch of MDC files, so Markdown with components in it. Like when you look at my MC paragraph here, I have a title component that's actually a view component that is rendered through here. And then there's a whole bunch of like other titles and some icon components and some paragraph. It's just a normal Markdown file, basically. You can actually, if you look at it raw, it's maybe a little bit easier. Here you go. So that's all the stuff that's in there. So now when you go to Uniform, I have actually created a component library with details, the MC thing that you just saw, my heroes, or media stuff. And those components are actually have parameters that connect to GitHub, to my Markdown file. So I made a landing page. And before we have a look at what all this does, let's just preview it. And so preview is actually connected to Uniform and Vercel and the Nuxt preview mode. Let's make that slightly smaller so it's a bit easier to see. All right, so here I have my hero, I have a little intro, and I have two biographies, a big one and a small one. I have some details about myself, this MC paragraph that we just looked at, some media related stuff, and my latest talks. And so this is all running on Nuxt 3 with Content v2 and Uniform. So if I actually wanted to like, let's have a look at this mini bio here. So I have a rich text component that is looking at my mini bio, but actually if you remove this, you can select all the stuff, and these are actually my Markdown files that Uniform found in GitHub. Right, so if I, instead of my mini bio, put my intro here and hit accept and save, the preview in Nuxt automatically updates, and there is actually that paragraph. But this paragraph is actually the rich text component, right? You can see that here on the left. And that rich text component is literally just a Markdown file that is now added in there. And we can actually see that in the code where I am. So basically, you can see very simple Nuxt config. I have Nuxt Content and Uniform Nuxt, and it's really very simple. And so when you look at my components here, this is this rich text view file. You see, I'm using the content renderer. But the way I'm actually getting the file, the Markdown file, is through actually getting the component parameters from Uniform, which actually in the ID says, hey, but this is the intro, this is the MC or whatever. And I'm literally just querying that like this as a file in my content folder, right? Where is it? Here, content intro. And this is just a normal Markdown file. And so this is slightly different than you would normally use these Markdown files with, because I'm not using any routing. I just have a home page with a whole bunch of components I want to drag and drop around, basically. And so basically, let's fix this again. So let's fetch my mini bio. And so now you're kind of just working with all these different kind of systems inside Uniform, because I can also, if I want to, change the title here. Let's see if that works. There you go. It needed an extra update for that mini bio to come in. But I can also change my Cloudinary stuff. I probably have to log in. Oh no, I'm logged in. That's nice. So let's just take this French dude and hit save. And once that updates, if it does, there we go. There it is. And so effectively in Uniform, you can now kind of work around some stuff with different headless sources, but also your Markdown files. And if in the future, rather than having this mini bio as a Markdown file, but you have a CMS, what you can actually do is you can actually just edit this component here, and you can add another data source to it. So if you want to move away from Markdown files and you want to go into, let's say, a CMS, you can actually add another parameter here, and the parameter type of your CMS would be here. So how about we quickly go to an integration and add that for you to show you. For example, let's go Contentful. Let's add that to my project and log in. Yep, logging in with GitHub. And so this is my Contentful entrance of my, here we go, and I have to choose my space master. Okay, so now we have a connection to Contentful in here. So what I can do is go back to my component library, and for that rich text, actually add another parameter called whatever, CMS, anything you want. And now we have a Contentful entry here. And we connect it to my default space, and then there's a rich text component as well. How about that? Okay, so let's save this and go back. So in my landing page here now, I actually have my Markdown for the rich text, right? The one I've selected here, the intro, but I can now also select, let's say, my about whatever thing I have in Contentful. How about my gear, stuff like that? And now it's actually selected that. And of course you can see the thing I coded for Markdown is basically alpha. I just did that quickly, so I don't have an edit button that goes to GitHub, but it's very easy to add that myself. And actually here I could actually just click edit and go into Contentful and edit whatever I need to edit. Right, let that load for a sec. There it is. That's all my gear. And now, if you actually look at the source that comes out, is so not my hero, but here's my rich text. So I have a Markdown file type that goes, okay, fetch me intro.markdown, or I have a CMS type that is now an entry for Contentful. And this way, you can kind of slowly adapt and add other components and headless sources, but it feels the same to use. I'm gonna stop the video and actually revert back because my live website now has a French dude on it. But this is what I wanted to show you, how you can actually use Nuxt with all the new stuff they're building without needing a CMS, but having like this flexibility to demo this to your boss or your project manager or your client and say, hey, we can actually build you this thing as a POC. And then later when you choose your CMS or whatever you want, we can add that in, and it's not that much extra effort. So if you like this stuff, or if you don't and you want to talk about it, actually come to our Discord server. It's on uniform.to/Discord, and we will have a free invite and you can talk about everything you want. See you there. Cheers.